10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello everyone, this is Chris Rennirt from Space Jockey Reviews, here today with a very special guest, my friend and fellow movie reviewer, Zena Sadé Dixon, also known as the Real Queen of Horror from realqueenofhorror.com. How are you today, Zena?
I am doing so well, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing fine too, thank you. Zena, when I say you're a special guest, I really mean it. I've talked to you on Facebook and Twitter so much, and I read so many of your movie reviews that it's really great to finally talk to you and do an interview. It's always great to talk to people who do what I do so I can see what motivates them to do those same things. And I'm sure that you have lots of interesting things to say. So let's get right on into this interview. Are you ready?
I'm absolutely ready.
Okay. First question is, if you're anything like me, and I know you are, then you were inspired by something early in your life that got you into loving horror. Tell us about that inspiration. Perhaps it was a certain movie, a favorite actor, or even a favorite character from a movie. With an alias like Real Queen of Horror, there must be a truly royal reason here.
Well, honestly, it all started. I, when I think back on it, my mom was is a huge horror fan, and I remember, I have about 5 siblings, and I'm the last one, so I was always with my mom all the time. Especially like when my dad would go to work, and she was like a stay-at-home mom, and it would usually just be me and her. And she would always just watch horror movies. And it was just like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Like I don't know. It's kind of strange because at the same time I think to myself, well, maybe I should have never been watching some of that stuff at such a young age. It just goes back so far back where I don't even remember the first horror movie that I've seen, but I do remember when I was about 5 years old. One of the, when you're like about 5, around that age,
Yes.
at least for me, that's when I started to fully remember things, like where I remember it now clearly. And we was watching the 1989 horror movie Night of the Demons.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't just only me and her. It was my other siblings as well, and my dad, but he's not really a huge horror fan, so he kind of just always just goes to sleep on them. But with my siblings, they loved it as well, but I just remember absolutely falling in love with that movie, falling with every single thing about it. Like I love the soundtrack. I love the actors and actresses. I even wanted to live at a place like Hull House at the age of 5. Yes.
Okay.
It all started there, and it was just around the time, around like Halloween, and just even seeing everyone, dressing up in spooky costumes and going around scaring people. It was just love at first sight for me.
I knew you were a lot like me. That just sounds like me. About your website, Real Queen of Horror, at realqueenofhorror.com, I must say that I absolutely love it. I don't really have time to read a lot of website content, but there are a few that I do take time out to visit regularly, and yours is one of them. It's original, creative, and everything about it shows that you have a true passion for what you do. Tell us about realqueenofhorror.com, its content, and the origin of the name.
Oh, well, first, thank you so much, Chris. Like, that's so awesome
You're welcome.
that you check it out. And even with the shout outs that you give to me as well as to other bloggers, it's just awesome that you take the time out to do that. It's like you do it all. You do it every week. That's just great. So
Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Well, I first when I first started Real Queen of Horror, It was May of 2011, and I was going through some things where it was like I wasn't too sure on, what I wanted to do in life. Just going back a little bit, when I went to college and I studied something that has really nothing to do with me. I did it for other people. Like I did it for my parents. And I realized just looking back, a lot of things that I've done, um, I would do, for my parents to make them proud. And although it's just a website, but I put a lot of time, into it, just like I'm sure everyone else does. But I put a lot of time into it. I wanted to make sure that, if you're interested in horror movies, you can at least come there just to read, just for some downtime, to find out maybe about a movie you never heard of, or maybe a movie that you absolutely loved. You need to be reminded about it. So I kind of just created it, just because I wanted to do something for me. I wanted to do something that um, I would be proud of, and that I could just show people, and not trying to sound like, oh, I'm just like some 2-year old who colored in a picture and I'm running around showing everyone. But I just wanted, I'm sorry, I went a little blank.
That's okay. That's okay.
I just wanted people to, especially not just only horror fans, but just people to, if you're interested in horrors, or just want something entertaining to watch, realqueenofhorror.com is a good place for you to go and check out.
Yes, it certainly is. And that is another one of the features of your website that I really like, is that very often I go there and see a movie I haven't heard of before, which is a little unusual. And there's so many movies out there, it's easy for that to happen. But I find something I haven't heard of, and then from your review, I want to see it. So that's always good. I also love your movie reviewing scoring system. Queen skulls, which are appropriately queen skulls wearing royal crowns. That's very fitting for a queen, of course, and a most original idea as well, since I've never seen that before. What must a movie do to receive a maximum score of 5 queen skulls?
I feel like I need to be completely entertained, 100%. I know that you know what it's like, Chris, when you're watching a movie, and maybe it's not that it's a horrible movie, but sometimes you have to take some breaks from it. Like you have to take a bathroom break,
Yes.
or you have to go get something to drink. I'm talking about a movie that is so well that your bladder could be about to explode, but you're not going to pause it. You're not going to answer that phone call. You're not going to let anything around you get, just get into your head.
Right.
I mean, clearly, if your house was on fire, obviously, then you should go. But I mean, you might think about it during that moment. It's I'm a huge fan of storyline, and I know a lot of people don't feel like it takes much for a horror movie to have storyline, but just as long as it's entertaining and things fit together, where I'm not questioning, the small things like, well, why wouldn't she just, I don't know, go downstairs, or why would he do that? Just simple things. Well, if I'm not questioning those kind of things and I'm fully entertained, that's to me what makes a great horror movie. And of course, the gore and the blood and the soundtrack and the awesome acting wouldn't hurt at all.
Sure. That's very good criteria for the 5 queen skulls. That's exactly what I was expecting. Since you love movies, especially horror movies, so much like me, I have to ask the question you probably expect. What is your favorite horror movie and why? I'm thinking it could be Night of the Demons, you mentioned
Yes.
earlier. It could be that because of the inspiration, but go ahead and confirm that, I guess. Or
Okay, well, you're absolutely right. Um, that I mean, I usually have a love for all kinds of movies. Like usually I'll have like a favorite top 5 list or top 10 list, but it's always changing all the time. But Night of the Demons has always been on that list and has always been number 1 um because of the connection that I do have with it. And I am actually a pretty huge fan of the 80s horror movies. And that to me just screams everything 80s
Yes.
in a great way.
And I agree, even in my case, my favorite movie is the movie that really got me where I am right now, and that's Alien. I remember being in the theater and it just made science fiction and
Hmm.
horror, because that's a perfect sci-fi horror combo
It
movie,
is.
and it just really set me on a different course in life. That's why I have the whole Space Jockey reviews theme and all. But yes, that's a great connection, absolutely. What about your favorite movie monster? Who would that be?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I know you've got one.
I do. I do. I would have to think about that.
Okay, you can think and come back to it then.
Okay.
Okay. What is it you may have, I know you touched on this earlier, but what is it that makes a horror movie truly scary for you?
For me.
Yes.
Okay. I notice with other horror fans, this does not um get to them at all, but the whole demonic theme that they have going on sometimes with certain horror movies, like with Wreck 2
Yes.
or with the movie The Possession. Movies like that, that has that little, just a hint of that in it, that's what really creeps me out. Like I
Yes.
feel like I can sit there and I can watch the films that have so much blood and gore in it, and I mean I won't really be phased by it at all. But just something about that really it sticks to my mind.
Yes. The next question I have is about found footage films. They became popular originally after the Blair Witch Project, which was the cutting edge debut for their type. But as effective as they can be, they now struggle, I think, more than other types of horror films to be truly original. And they always have the extra burden of justifying how terrorized people find the will to pack around a camera to document it, further increasing their
Mhm.
chances of death.
Mhm.
So, what is your idea of a good found footage film, and what makes one work for you?
Um well, as of lately, there's really no excuse in my opinion. If something so horrible and drastic is going on, that someone has the time to carry around a huge camera and even tapes to go with it.
Yes.
Um, but I don't know if you've ever seen the film Cloverfield.
Oh, yes, I have seen it. Yes.
Did you like it?
Yes, actually, I did. I really liked it a lot. I thought it was just such a realistic
Mm-hmm.
film, and I can't remember why they were carrying the camera in that movie. I know they
Right.
were trying to rescue the guy's girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
but even though I can't remember why they were carrying the camera, I do like that movie.
Oh, well, good for you, Chris. I knew I could count on you. Well, I love that movie. And I feel like a lot of people, I've known so many people where they dislike it a lot. In some ways, I guess I can understand, but when I first saw it, I was just completely in love with it. The reason why that I remember that he was carrying around the camera is, the same typical reason, because he wants people to know what happened.
Yes,
Which is understandable because it was like he was still falling all over the place. It was hard for him to, film things. He wasn't like trying to be the cameraman of the year by zooming in on things and everything.
right.
It seemed real, and when the footage ran out, he didn't try to replace it drastically,
Yes.
So that's a good film for people, in my opinion, to watch if you want it to seem a bit more realistic.
I agree with you. I loved how it started out as just a normal event any of us could be involved in, and then all of a sudden there's this gigantic monster attacking the city. It was so realistic. And I think for me the romantic context of it put the
Hmm.
filming a little more into perspective for me as you say as a need to document that. And
Right.
it's so, but in any case I loved it. I really did. So we have another big movie favorite in common. Great. with with so many movies out there, how do you go about choosing a movie to review?
Well, that's a very good question. I usually go on Twitter and I ask certain people, their opinions on certain movies. And sometimes I'm not gonna lie, like I have a habit of watching movies when people tell me, no, don't watch it, it's the worst movie in the world. And then I find myself, sometimes I feel like, when I do give them a go, I feel like the person who advised me not to watch it, that they were wrong, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then there are those times that, happen when I do watch it and I feel like ripping out my eyeballs and throwing them outside. That's happened many times, and I don't know. It's I guess as far as it goes also, if I'm doing a written review,
Yes.
usually it's just on, I'll either go to Netflix and, I check on there first, and I just usually just do it by random. If it's the video reviews, it's either a movie that a director sent me, or it'll be a movie. I said a movie, a movie that's in theaters, and I usually go towards that.
Okay. Yeah, and just like you, I'm also sometimes more drawn to a movie that has a lot of bad commentary and negative reviews because I want to see for myself. And I know that a lot of times the people who do the reviews are not really the horror lovers, the sci-fi lovers, and they just don't appreciate some of what is really in there for the lovers of the genre.
Right.
What would you say is the most rewarding thing about reviewing movies and having a website?
I get to let out how I feel. Even if someone doesn't, read it or doesn't comment on it, um, it just makes me happy to know that I put it out there. Because usually I'll just go around just telling friends and family how much I love the movie. And of course, they have to listen. Or, I'm sorry,
Oh, that's
got a little
okay.
distracted.
That's okay.
Or saying if I absolutely hated a movie, it's good therapy to do that. It helps a lot.
We have another big thing in common. I've always said that movie reviewing for me is such a cathartic experience because every time I watch a movie, even before I wrote reviews, I had all these ideas in my head. And writing, I also majored in English and literature, so that was just a natural thing to connect. But it's getting it out, typing it out that makes me feel better. I originally started putting reviews on Amazon.com, but that just didn't get me where I wanted to go. And
Hmm.
so the website and getting it published makes me feel better too.
How long have you had your website?
I have had it for almost a couple of years now.
Okay.
Yeah. Not as long as you might think. I just really went into hyper warp speed getting things on there and
Well, good job.
well, thank you. What would you say is the most um, challenging thing about having a website?
Well, having a website really, for me, isn't that challenging. Um, I've been making websites since I've been since I was like about 11, 12 years old. So I've always kind of been that person always on the computer designing things. So maintaining it isn't a problem. Even putting out posts, it really isn't a problem. Because I have like over 10 posts that are still saved as drafts, just as some backups. Um, just in case if I don't know, say if I go on vacation or something and I just want to post something up. So that's not really a problem for me.
Right. For me, it's just keeping up with the reviews and the fresh content sometimes when
Hmm.
I get overloaded with other things I do.
Right, right.
I read your most recent review. It's a review of a movie called Rosewood Lane. You
Hmm.
really didn't like this movie, to say the least, and and I love how you describe your dislike of it. You're very honest and tactful as usual, and also respectfully humorous about it. Do you ever find yourself holding back criticism or just totally skipping a review of a terrible movie for fear of offending someone or the with the necessary honesty?
Never.
Okay.
Because I feel like, especially in this day and age, I cannot let other people's opinions make me feel a certain way. Especially when I know that there's not that I'm a bitter person or I know it's going to make me sound like I'm just like an angry person. I'm not angry at all. I feel like I'm a very happy person, but there's a lot of things in a lot of movies that I don't like. And I just feel like I'm not going to, jump on the bandwagon and just be singing all sorts of tunes with everybody saying how wonderful a movie was. But I will skip out on a movie if I absolutely feel like I do not want to waste my life typing out something or taking the time to film a review on it because even I mean, like when you write a review, it's not always easy. Although you're telling your opinion, I have a habit sometimes of writing how I talk. And I mean, I could speak English and everything, but sometimes I don't always sound like I'm like a Harvard Insta ugh, you know what I mean. See,
Yes,
that's
yes.
exactly what I'm saying. So, I'm not always, I don't know, on
Yeah.
top of things as far as that goes cuz a lot of times I don't think before I speak. I just let it out. But yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, that's one of the things I really admire about your writing is that you do tell it like it is, and it's entertaining and very interesting and informative to read what you have to say because I can hear your personality and your voice coming out in your writing. What would you
Thank you.
speak? You're absolutely welcome. Speaking of bad movies, what would you say is the worst movie you've ever reviewed,
Um
and why might that be?
Well, the one that's coming to mind is this movie called what was that one called? Give me 1 second. Because I can actually pull it up. I was
Okay,
just looking at it in disgust.
go right ahead.
I'm not too sure if you I'm not too sure if you read this one. This one was from a while back and it actually had I think his name is Michael Welch and he was from Twilight, but he was like one of the side characters. And let me just make sure of the name.
Okay. I don't
One
think I've
second.
seen that one.
You probably haven't, and I don't know. I just found out that it came on the Lifetime channel.
Okay.
So, um, yeah, let me just pull that up. 1 second.
Oh, that's all
Oh,
right.
found it.
Okay, good.
Born Bad.
Okay.
This movie was on Netflix, and I think I watched it. I don't know, maybe earlier this year or no, last year. It was last year sometime. And basically, it was about this teenage girl and her family moved into a brand new area. And most teenagers, emotions all over, like they're all over the place. And her
Yes.
dad remarried, and the stepmother is pregnant.
Yes. All sorts of dysfunction.
Yes. So she meets this guy, and his name is Denny, and he's really like, he's amazing at first. He's charming, and everyone just loves him and think that he's great. Then all of a sudden, like, there was like no balance. Like, how movies, it takes some time for things to happen.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because it was just so ridiculous.
Now, what was the name of this again?
Born Bad.
Okay, Born Bad. I'll have to remember that.
Yes. We find out that this guy Denny, he's a liar. He's on drugs. He cheats. He's an abuser.
Yes.
He's a murderer. He's a rapist. He's all these things.
Wow.
And they was trying to make this kid into being something scary. And the crazy thing is, I don't know if you ever seen Twilight, any of the Twilights.
I have avoided all of them so far.
Oh.
I have not. I'm not opposed to them. I just have so far seen none of them.
Okay. Well, you know what? Even if you've never seen this movie, you should know, like, when you first watch it, that this guy who's playing Denny, he's trying to step out of boundaries. Like, I guess because he did the Twilight movie, so he's trying to come off like, yeah, I'm a great actor and I can play a bad boy. And it's just like, no, you can't. Like, I was actually laughing when he was trying to be terrifying because he'll be yelling at the girl, but his voice would be cracking, and I don't know. It was just crazy. I don't recommend it to anybody. I gave it a 1.
Okay. Well, I will certainly avoid that one, but I may look for the review because I'm sure that's interesting. So go ahead, everyone, to hear some excellent, honest reviewing with plenty of personality and voice, I'm sure. Check out Zena's Tell It Like It Is review of Rosewood Lane and Born Bad. You can go to realqueenofhorror.com and check it out. And I'll even have a link to it on Space Jockey Reviews, or actually both of those, along with Zena's interview here. So don't miss that. Next, Zena, like me, you also do interviews. In my case, I never planned on doing interviews at all in the beginning. Did you think of doing interviews when you started your website, or did they just grow out of opportunities that arose soon enough, as was the case for me?
They grew out of opportunities, just like you.
Okay. All right. Who would you most like to interview and why?
Oh. It's between Tony Todd.
Okay.
He's always been a favorite.
Yes. I met him at Days of the Dead in Indianapolis just a few months ago. Yes, he's a really nice guy.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Did you take a picture with him?
Actually, I did not. I did not, but I do have pictures that were taken. He was actually we ate at a restaurant in the hotel, and he was in there eating at the table across from us while we were in there. So it was really neat how you get to mingle with all these people at these conventions. So, Tony Todd, if you're out there listening, and I know you are, give the Real Queen of Horror a call or send her an email so she can go ahead and schedule that interview on the Queen's Royal Agenda.
Absolutely. And the other person is James Wan.
Oh,
I think that, he is absolutely awesome. One of my favorite movies by him is Dead Silence. That was one of the movies. It takes a lot to scare me, and
yes,
really, really scare me.
Me too.
I knew it.
That's one of the drawbacks I have with watching horror films. I'm really
Yes.
numb to a lot of that stuff. But yes, I
Hmm.
know what you mean.
But seeing that movie, it was one
Yes,
of the movies in a long time that really scared me.
yes. So James Wan, I know you're listening too. Send Real Queen of Horror Zena an email and get that interview scheduled too. Zena,
Absolutely.
you are, without a doubt, the most chic, well dressed fashionista of any movie reviewer I know, of horror or otherwise. I love how you blend style and glamour together in a very unique horror theme, unlike anything I've seen before. Each one perfectly complements the other. You even have a page on your website that is appropriately called Fashion. And I'm sure I couldn't find another such horror website to beat what you've created if I tried. The question is, it's true. The question is, how did you come up with the idea for a fashion theme with a horror website? And were you aware at the time of how original that would be?
Well, first, thank you, Chris.
You are
Like,
totally welcome.
that makes me so happy that you noticed.
Oh, I've noticed since the beginning. Yes.
Well, I had no idea that that was going to blend together or even be put together on my site. Um, I always knew though, besides from absolutely loving horror movies, I love to shop.
Yes.
I absolutely love it and I'm really good at it. Like really, really good. And I don't know, I recently found my love for, putting clothes together and everything. I even have like I had an extra bedroom that I turned into a horror room slash like a fashion store with
Oh,
my
wow.
shoes and bags.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I love all your shoes. That's just really such interesting, always interesting to see your shoes. So this was, as I suspected, just a natural part of your personality, two different parts that just came together very naturally for your website. That's what I thought. Related to fashion, I see that, like me, you have quite a collection of horror t shirts I've seen you wearing in various photos on your website. I've seen one
Yes.
for Night of the Creeps recently, and
Hmm.
even The Beyond, one of my personal favorite films as well, that's a little lesser known. How many
Hmm.
horror t shirts do you have, and which one is your favorite?
I honestly don't have that many. Not
Oh,
as
you
much
don't?
as No, not as much as I'd like.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
in the process of starting that because what I want to do is I want to start displaying those. Um, well, certain ones because I still like to wear them. I think in total I probably have about maybe 15.
That's pretty good.
Maybe.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say I have probably about the same number, and that increases by several every time I go to a convention.
Hmm.
Speaking of T-shirts, have you ever thought of creating a Real Queen of Horror T-shirt? I'd love to have one myself.
Oh, that would be awesome. Well,
Yes.
I have been thinking about it. Um, I knew that either before this year is up or either early next year, that's something definitely that I would love to have. Like, I'm in the process of designing a new logo that I would like to put on the t-shirt.
Okay, great.
Hmm.
And I must add, for our listeners who don't know, that one of your beautiful photos, that is totally perfect for a t-shirt, by the way, has been for a long time now on the sidebar of my website, Space Jockey Reviews. So everyone be sure to click on Zena's photo and you will be taken at light speed, of course, directly to realqueenofhorror.com. I'm sure you've seen that
Hmm.
photo on there, haven't you?
No,
Oh,
I'm
really?
scared.
Oh, you're
Which
oh,
I hope that it's
it's
a good one.
oh,
So,
it's a great one. I mean, I've never seen a bad one, but it's it's the one where you're holding up the glass, the wine glass, I think.
oh yes,
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a
that
classic.
is a good
That's a
one.
classic Xena picture for sure.
Thank
But like
you.
I said, I've never seen a bad one, so Xena,
Oh.
very often, as is the case for me and other movie reviewers I know, acting, directing, and producing short films is a next step, or at least something that tempts us. With all the digital cameras and editing software available, it's very doable these days. I just finished a movie called Undying Love for You a few weeks ago myself. Have you ever thought about acting, directing, or producing?
I've always wanted to be a director.
All right.
It's been a dream of mine for years, and a couple of years ago I used to do some short films, but I felt that I needed to learn a lot more before pursuing it. So that's why with the video reviews for me, I use that as practice.
Yes.
I use, doing just the different angles, and even as far as it goes with the video editing, I used to think of, like, when I was in high school, I used to want to be an actress, but then as I got older, I realized that I love being behind the camera a whole lot better.
Well, that was one of my questions or comments is I notice that in your video reviews, you always set them up like a mini movie, which makes it as interesting to watch the movie plot of the review as it is to listen to your review. So, yes, I've always noticed that. And on that subject, which do you prefer most, the written or video reviews that you do?
I prefer the video reviews, but as of lately, I've been a little absent from that. That's because I'm updating some of the material that I have, new camera, new lights.
Okay.
So I want to take them to a whole new level.
And so, what would your dream movie be about? You probably already have a good plot in mind, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, yes, I do.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Okay, well, back in 2007, this poor movie, it has so many names. I changed it so many times, but basically, it's supposed to take place on a campus, on a college campus. So it kind of has that typical setup about people in college and partying when there's some students who are taking a science class. And basically something horrible happens with it involves them. I even had to look up different kind of bugs and everything, but you ever heard of a wolf spider?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
One of my favorite
Really?
spiders, yes.
I think that those are very those are scary looking.
Yes,
And
they
I
are.
would, yeah.
They're one of the largest North American species. Yeah.
So it involves one of those.
Okay.
And basically something horrible happens on campus. And there's nothing that anyone can do about it because it just so happens to be, during the summer. And usually if you're on campus, on a college campus during the summertime, it's a bit empty. And
Yes.
no one's really out there. And somehow they're going to get trapped on campus.
All right. Well,
Yes.
I will be very anxious to see and review that movie once you get it directed and produced. Sounds very interesting. I love spider movies anyway. Zena, what else is currently on your resume that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, I recently started writing for some websites, just trying to get Real Queen of Horror out there. There's a website called Florida Geek Scene, and I usually just do horror movies, written reviews. I may start doing video reviews for that site as well. And I started writing for Bloody Disgusting.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank
Excellent. Wow.
I'm in the process right now of writing something else for them that may be out either this week or the following week.
Okay. Well, you let us know. You let me know about that. And since I am the editor-in-chief at Space Jockey Reviews, I'll make sure that we get that out to all the space jockeys as well, because that's always great news. What is in the future for you? Do you see yourself starting yet another website or perhaps venturing into something totally different that would surprise us all?
Well, I was playing with the idea of having like an online store for fashion, but it involves more of the spooky horror kind of things. I was playing with that idea, but I don't think that that would really be a big surprise for people if they ever checked out Real Queen of Horror.
No, that.
But I'm not even too sure if a lot of people know that my goal, one of my goals in life, is to be a director, and I definitely do plan on having a short film out before. I want to say before November. Um, I'm just trying to make sure, as far as it goes with the, my lights and camera and even sound, that that is at a good level.
Yes. Having worked on a or movies recently myself, I can say sound is one of the biggest things
Yes.
to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it can be done. It can be
Mm-hmm.
done, and I can certainly give you some advice on that myself if you're interested. I can tell you some things to
Absolutely.
do. Is there anything else you'd like to add? This is your opportunity to talk about anything I haven't asked.
Oh, well, I can go back to that question that you
Oh,
asked me earlier.
the favorite movie monster.
Yes.
All right, good. Okay, great.
So, the first one I feel would be, Freddy Krueger.
Yes, of course.
He is awesome, and
Yes,
he has the best personality ever. So he's definitely on there.
I agree with that.
And
Yes.
I think that that would be something that Jenny would say
I'm
as
sure
well.
Jenny would say that. Yes, that's a definite for Jenny with Jenny Kruger for sure.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Then the other one is have you seen the movie Dead Alive?
I have not only seen that, but it is on my list of favorites. I have a
Uh,
long list of favorites, but it's on there. Yes.
it's on my list too. My mom showed me that movie when I was like 12, and ever since then I would make her watch it with me for one whole summer every single day, and she would. Oh, she was awesome
And
that
it
she did that.
and isn't the movie poster for Dead Alive just one of the best you've ever seen?
Yes, it is. It is. That's probably why I wanted to watch it.
Well, I went to Days of the Dead a couple of months ago in Indianapolis, and I was trying not to spend any money, which was a futile attempt. But I walked past a booth, and they were selling movie posters, and out front they had a Dead Alive poster, which I don't have. So guess what I had to do? Had to
You
buy it.
had.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was one of the first movies I got on DVD way back when I
Mhm.
first got into DVDs. So yes, we have another big thing in common, and I'm really
Yes,
not
we
at
do.
all surprised, actually. uh,
Well, with Lionel's mom, Vera, she could be labeled a monster because
yes,
she
yes,
got bit by a rat monkey and
yes, yes, absolutely,
she
absolutely.
was a giant. I especially loved the part when she morphed into this huge beast. It was gross.
Yes, yes. And doesn't that movie just have maybe the biggest carnage slash bloodbath scene in history, possibly?
It does, but
I
I
mean,
loved it. I mean,
it's no, it's great. But they do it because it's one of these things that's so over the top
hmm
that it doesn't hit you in the same way it would otherwise. It's just
right.
it gets away with being what it is because it just is so big.
hmm
Yeah. Now I have what I call 5 random questions designed to get to know you better personally.
Okay.
And they may not have anything to do with horror, but here they are. Number 1, if you could go anywhere in the world you've never been before, or even anywhere in the universe, since this is Space Jockey Reviews, where would you go and why?
Hmm. Can I say two places?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, the first place is I don't know what it is, but I always had a thing for Australia, and I just want to go there so bad. The second place would be, although I don't know if it'll be safe to go, but I've always wanted to go to Mars,
Oh,
especially after seeing Total Recall, the original
yes,
one, and
yes,
it just looked like an awesome place.
yes.
So,
Just make sure you don't get thrown out of one of those big domes into the natural Martian atmosphere like
no,
Arnold Schwarzenegger did. You know, his eyes
yes,
popped out of his head and all that. Yeah.
no.
But good choices. I'm glad you picked an extraterrestrial, otherworldly place too. Space Jockey Reviews always loves that. If you were to prepare a meal for a special guest, what would be on the royal menu?
I'm not the best cook, but I'm getting a little better.
Okay.
Um, hmm.
Or you could say what you would cater. What would it's the question's
Okay.
very flexible.
Uh, okay. Well, this may not be royal at all, but I mean, I absolutely love pizza.
Oh, okay, that's royal enough.
You can't go wrong with pizza.
No, no. I just had that. I guess a couple of days in a row this week, so that's never a bad choice.
Do you have a favorite kind?
Well, if the sausage is the right type of sausage, and I'm really picky about that, it's
Mm-hmm.
sausage.
Okay.
But since very often the sausage is not the right type in a strange restaurant, I'll go with pepperoni. It's hard to go wrong with
Oh,
pepperoni.
yes,
Yeah,
pepperoni's my favorite.
yeah. It's I like it when it's cooked so that it's a little bit crispy too,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like a bacon texture. But yeah, okay, well, cha-ching, that's another big thing we have in common. I guess those horror movie reviewers just have everything in common, I guess.
Yes, we do.
Yes. If you could travel back in time and interview a famous person from the past, not necessarily related to movies, but possibly so, who would it be and why?
Hmm. Um,
This is always a tough question
that
for,
is a
for
tough
people.
question.
And we can skip it or come back to it, or you can answer it and I'll post it in writing later. It's whatever. I know it's a tough one. It's just
We can skip it, but I'm gonna come back to it, just
okay.
like the other
All
one.
right, all right. Okay. Number 4. If you could play your favorite character in a movie, who would the character be?
Hmm. That's a hard one. Um.
Maybe a female Freddy Krueger, possibly.
Oh, that would be pretty
It
cool.
sure would, and I don't think that's been done before. I
Hmm.
saw some women dressed up as female Freddy Kruegers and Jasons at Days of the Dead, and it looked really compelling. So it could work really well.
That could work. Uh, oh, you are great with these questions.
Oh well, that's good. Good to hear.
Um, hmm.
We,
I think I would go with Sean from Shaun of the Dead.
all right.
I know he's a guy,
He's
but
very
he was
efficient.
very, yeah, and
Very,
he was
yeah,
he was pretty awesome,
very
and
efficient zombie killer. I'll say that.
yes.
Did it with style and a great amount of humor. But yes,
Hmm.
excellent choice. Yes. And the last question before we go back to the third one that you're still thinking about is one I ask everyone. Do you think there's life elsewhere in the universe?
Yes, I do.
Good.
There is
That's
no way that there isn't.
all right. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay. So,
Uh, what's that?
oh, I was going to see if you wanted to go back to the time traveling question or
That is such a hard one, and I don't want to be disappointed in myself if I just say no. I'll tell
okay.
you later, and you can write it. So it can be anyone.
Anybody at all. Somebody that it could be a famous director or just a famous person that you feel would make a wonderful interview. You could even ask them their top favorite horror films from the period. That's how I work anybody into an interview. They can always talk about horror films, you know.
Always. Well, I'm completely at a blank.
Okay. Well, you can just tell me later if you want, and I can add that in there in writing.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll do that. Okay, everyone, be sure to check out Zena Sadé Dixon, aka Real Queen of Horror, and her royal website at realqueenofhorror.com. Like her, easily enough done, on her courtly Facebook page, also at Real Queen of Horror. Check out and subscribe to Zena's YouTube channel at youtube.com/realqueenofhorror, and follow Zena on Twitter at LovelyZena. There's always lots of great movie reviews from Zena, no matter where you follow or like her. Also, again, look for Zena's beautiful photo on the sidebar of my website, Space Jockey Reviews, where you can click on it and go at light speed, always directly to realqueenofhorror.com. Zena, this has been another truly out-of-this-world interview. Good luck. Keep Space Jockey Reviews updated with all you do. And again, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris, for having me.
You are welcome.
You're awesome.
Thank
you. I would definitely keep you updated with everything.
Yes, definitely do that. And you're welcome back for interviews anytime.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.